John Brown was born on May 9, 1800, in Torrington, Connecticut. He was an American abolitionist who used violence to fight against slavery. I wouldn't exactly say that Brown was a successful person, or even had success at that, but I'd say that his greatest triumph was his thought of abolishing slavery. Now, his biggest failure. Well, John Brown was an abolitionist, but he definitely wasn't peaceful about it. He purposely used violence in his process of abolishing slavery. He believed he was the instrument of God's wrath in punishing men for their sins of owning slaves. He and his followers killed 5 pro-slavery supporters, which brought some tension upon them. Then, in 1859, Brown led an unsuccessful attack against the Federal Armory. That ended with his capture. He was found guilty on all counts, convicted, and sentenced to death by hanging. This was his biggest failure. Here's a map of the places Brown traveled throughout his life. He was born in Torrington, Connecticut. Then he moved with his family to Hudson, Ohio. Then at the age of 16, he moved to Plainfield, Massachusetts for a preparatory program. He then transferred to Morris Academy in Litchfield, Massachusetts. He later married Diane Lusk. They had a child, and they moved to New Richmond, Pennsylvania in 1820. Then his wife died in 1832, so he married a 16-year-old Mary Ann Day, and they moved to Medfield, Pennsylvania, and had 13 children in addition to his 7 from the previous marriage. Then, in 1836, he and his family moved to Franklin Mills, Ohio, to build a tannery. Later, in 1837, when Elijah Parrish Lovejoy, a fellow abolitionist, was murdered, Brown vowed, "Here, before God, in the presence of these witnesses, I consecrate my life to the destruction of slavery." That is when he began to lose it. Most of his children had died from dysentery. Then he moved to Springfield, Massachusetts to continue fighting slavery, and then he was hung in Charlestown, Virginia on December 2nd, 1859. One of the people on the list that had a commonality with Brown is Frederick Douglass, because he was an abolitionist as well. Elijah Lovejoy was his biggest ally, a role model to him who helped him in his peaceful stages of abolition, while his biggest nemesis were all of those of pro-slavery. Brown was a strong, firm abolitionist. He believed African Americans were the same as everyone else and needed to be treated fairly. This would be the political group that he would have sided with. When it comes to comparing John Brown with a character of our present-day society, I actually think Brown is similar to Osama bin Laden. He was very similar to a terrorist, John Brown was. They both did things that they thought were for good and for God, but really were terrible actions that led to death of other people and really led to the death of both of them. Brown began with a general economic status. His father owned a tannery and pretty much stayed general throughout his lifetime. If anything, it went down during his travels. Once again, John Brown's cause of death was hanging for his violent behavior on December 2nd, 1859. This death could not have been cured with modern medicines. I'd rate John Brown a 3 because he didn't have a huge pull in the Civil War, but he did have a decent one in the starting of it, the general idea. He could have been considered, to most historians, America's first domestic terrorist. Based on Brown's life and the actions he committed, the Civil War was started in the 1820s, when he first became passionate about abolition. One quote to remember that can deal with Brown's situation against pro-slavery supporters and everyday life to stand up. "These men are all talk. What we need is action. Action."